I was lucky enough to be sent these lovely textures from Mark Wills, the gel plate artist. You want to check him out. And he sent me these lovely textures, gorgeous textures that he'd taken at work. He works with wood and makes all kinds of furniture. And these must have been the stained top of the wood, but they're absolutely gorgeous. He sent me them in April, and I've been wanting to create something with them ever since. Now, normally I would probably chop these up and make them as part of a composition. But as I was looking at them and turning them round and just staring at all these gorgeous marks, I looked at this one in particular and turned it on its side. And I began to see a scene the more I stared at it. So I thought I would go with that instead. So I thought I'd just show you the process. So like I said, normally I would cut these up and maybe make this part of a texture of someone's coat or part of a character. The more I stared at it, the more I began to see a landscape emerging. I began to see some hills in the distance, maybe some sea here. And because I live in the countryside or near the sea, it makes more sense that this was kind of being suggested to me. I love these gorgeous lines sweeping through here, and this line sweeping through the landscape, and this lovely line here sweeping through the composition. Initially I really liked this line, but the more I kind of looked at it, the more I felt it was interfering with the whole kind of composition. So let's see what I can do with this. I'm focused on this line in particular, which looks like a hill coming down, and this being the background. And then this almost looks like a kind of suspended bridge going across with some foreground down here. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of this kind of band going down here. So let's open Procreate, and then I'm going to grab the photo, tap on Procreate, tap on photo, then I'm going to grab the texture that suggested the scene to me, which is this one. I'm going to make a duplicate of that texture first, just so I've got backup, and then I'm going to hide the bottom one by tapping on the checkbox. And the first thing I want to do is get rid of this black band here. So I'm going to tap on clone. I'm going to make sure I'm in the right layer by tapping on it. I'm going to tap on clone. And I'm just going to, what I want to do is continue this kind of hill going down here. So I'm just going to clone, let's grab a soft brush in my airbrushing category. Let's grab a medium brush. So I'm in the clone tool, which is under adjustments, tap clone. And I'm going to target the clone tool wherever I want it to copy from. And then I'm going to place my brush where I want it to paint. So you can see the clone area is here and the painting area is here. I can even continue those lines going across by tapping the target area down here and then painting up there. So I'm just going to do that until all of this black ring has disappeared. So this will take me about 10 minutes to do, so I'm going to speed this up a little bit as I finish the cloning work. Be careful where you have marks like this, and when you clone it, you repeat them here because that can look like an obvious cloning. So you want to avoid that and focus on cloning more nondescript areas like this that don't have recognizable shapes. Two-finger tap to undo. So you can see now I've carried on that hill in the distance to make it look like a continuation of a hill. And to me this looks like the sea in the background, or maybe another hill where we live Where I live, we have an island called Portland, and this could almost be Portland in the background. Now, I'm not keen about this kind of like mess here, so I'm gonna just go in and kind of give it a bit more grain so it doesn't look so soft and obviously cloned. Now what I'm going to do is try to darken certain areas and lighten certain areas. For example, this bit here. I'm going to do the same with other parts of the background and get rid of certain marks, like this mark here. It just looks like a bright vertical that doesn't really belong. Next thing I want to do is to define this hill a bit more, or these hills. And I could try and darken this, but this is already quite dark, so I think I'm going to lighten the background instead. I'm going to tap on a new layer in case it goes wrong. And then I'm going to get a big brush, one of my favorites, the Nikon roll brush under the painting category. And actually, I think I'll try the stucco brush, which is a bit rougher. And I'm going to grab a light color. I'm just going to pick by tapping on the screen from the actual image itself. When you tap on a color, you can pick it up. And then I'm just going to I'm going to make the brush smaller. I'm going to make it a bit brighter by tapping on the active color. And I'm going to make it a cooler kind of blue by choosing the blue color, and then making it a bit lighter up here by pushing the colour up towards the light part. Then I'm just going to go over the top of where the hill is. Actually, I probably want something a bit softer, so I'm going to choose this Tamar brush. Make it smaller again. They're quite grainy brushes. Don't worry about going over the edges, because I can erase that because it's on a separate layer. And then I'm just going to take that, I'm going to try a blend mode by tapping on the layer, then trying different blend modes. The vivid light is quite nice. And then I'm just going to create a mask, tap black, then erase. I'm going to use a airbrush for this, for a softer effect. Medium brush again, and I'm just going to retrieve the hill edge there. And go back into the layer. Just paint the corner a bit. And then I'm going to take this opacity right down. I don't want it this bright. Now, the other thing I talked about was a bridge coming across here, and I want to bring that out a bit more. So again, I'm going to tap a new layer. I'm going to go to inking. I'm going to pick a black from this nice black blob here. You can see maybe there's something a bit darker here. This way of picking colours up from the image itself means that the colours all tie in together nicely. I'm looking at this sweeping bridge going across here, and to make it look more like a bridge, I'm going to kind of run a line, make sure I'm in the new layer, which I am. It's a bit heavy, so I'm going to go a bit lighter on the touch. And I'm literally just sort of dangling my pen from my finger just to get a light touch. And then I'm going to do the same for the bottom of the bridge. the imaginary bottom of the bridge. I'm going to change my inking pen, maybe change it to ink bleed, just because it feels a bit heavy. And I'm running my pen along the bottom of the bridge till we get to the end, and already that's brought out the bridge slightly more. And the other thing I want to do is to add some kind of upright verticals along the bridge, like rails, as part of the bridge structure, again to define it a little bit more. So I'm just going to kind of place random, following lightly where the lines already were. As if these were part of the structure of the bridge. I'm also going to add a secondary line where you might imagine the bottom of the back of the bridge to be. I'm going to do that on a separate layer. The more elements you have on separate layers, the easier it is to change later. So check I'm in the right layer, and then I'm going to do a kind of faint line as if this was the back of the bottom of the bridge. This will probably make a little bit more sense in a moment. Now, to emphasize that this is a structure on which someone might walk, and to kind of anchor the scene, I'm going to add a figure as well. So let's bring in a figure. In my photo library, I have got a lot of silhouettes and figures of people. Ideally, I'm looking for someone walking. Let's try dog walker. I'm sure I've tagged some of my photos with dog walker figure. He's standing still, so that's no good. Okay, what have we got here? So we've got this so this looks good. What I'm going to do, I'm going to tap on the figure, and that's going to hopefully copy the whole figure and drag it across. I've got the whole figure there, and then I can make him much smaller so he kind of fits the bridge. And then I'm going to flip him horizontally so he's walking in the right direction. So originally I had him like this, tap, flip, horizontal. I'm just going to push him into position, and the colour of him at the moment and the sort of photographic realism of him at the moment doesn't really fit the image, so I'm going to make him much darker by going into adjustments, tap saturation, bring that down to 0, take the brightness down, and now we have a figure just walking across the bridge, which looks much better and fits in here. You can hear I live by the seaside, by the seagulls chirping away, wailing away. Now I'm going to bring the dog in as well, just in the same way that I did with the figure. I'm going to tap on the dog. I'm not going to worry about the lead because that's easy enough to draw in. And I'm going to do the same thing. In fact, I'm going to do it bigger this time so you can see it. So let me just turn off. I'm going to group everything in the layer so it's easier to turn on and off by tapping the top layer and then tap and sliding to the right, and then tap group, tap the little chevron on the right, and then turn it off. And now you can see what I've copied of the dog. Now you can see I haven't got all the details, but that's okay. It's a kind of indistinct image. As long as you know it's the dog walking across the bridge, that's the main thing. I'm going to do a little bit of rubbing out though, just to get a bit more definition there. So I'm going to go into the rubber. So I'm going to choose the eraser and take that down a bit. Make sure I'm in the right layer, the dog layer. Choose the eraser again. And with a soft brush, quite small, I'm just going to go in and erase around the dog. going to do this quite roughly. Speed things up a bit. Now I've cut it off his tail there, but that's okay because I can brush that back in a minute. Just go a little bit in here, make the brush a bit smaller. The little bit of the dog's nose is missing and a bit of the tail, so I'm just going to tap on the brown. Choose a soft brush. Let's pick an airbrush. It's a bit softer. It's a lot softer. Pick a nice dark brown. I'm just going to draw the rest of his tail in there. Maybe a bit of definition on his paws as well. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to tap the grouped layer so we can see it again. I'm going to flip the dog just like I did the figure. Flip horizontal. I'm going to make him much smaller. A little tip, if you ever cut something like this out and then spend quite a bit of time doing it, duplicate the layer and then hide it so you've got a backup in case something goes wrong or you cut a piece off by accident. I want to make the dog a lot darker, so I'm going to go into, make sure I'm in the dog layer. Don't forget I've turned the other one off. And then I'm going to go into hue saturation. I'm going to take the saturation down. I'm going to take the brightness down. And now we've got the nice silhouette of the dog. He's rather huge, so I'm going to take him down a bit to dog size. And I'm going to try and put him in a space where he shows up a bit, somewhere about there. Great. Now let's add a little sun up there as well. I'm going to tap on a new layer. Tap on a nice textured brush. Let's try the plimsoll. And now I want a kind of warmish yellow for this. And I'm just going to softly add a little white sun up there. I'm going to tap on another layer. And I'm going to tap and bring that below that, and then I'm going to make this more of a kind of yellowy tone just to bring some warmth into the picture. You can't see all of it because it's behind the layer. I just want to experiment a little bit with the blend modes. I want to take the white down a little bit, just to take the brightness of it back. And now we're almost there. At this stage, I just really like the way that this texture just suggested a landscape, and I like the way this came out. I'm just going to add a little touch of light to the edges of the bridge as a finishing touch. Again, I'm going to choose a new layer. I'm going to choose the pencil brush. Let's try a different brush, the sketching brush, 6B pencil. I'm going to take the light from the sun itself, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of catch light. Pencil, might have to just rub over it a bit, go over it a couple of times to make that show. This helps to carry the line through the image. and helps give definition to some of those lines as well. The other thing I'm going to do is just bring out the little figures on the bridge as well by just brushing behind them in a lighter colour. So I'm going to create a layer below the figures and use a soft pastel. I'll pick up a light colour from here, make it a bluey colour, and just paint behind the figure. Now it needs to be on top. This layer needs to be on top of the bridge. There we go. But behind the figure layer. I'm just going to gently brush behind the figure. To bring them out a bit. Same with the dog. I might choose a smaller pencil, a 6B pencil, just to get the detail there. Underneath the bridge, this almost suggests a structure as well that's keeping the bridge up. So I'm going to use that clue, that suggestion, and go with it. I'm going to grab a big brush. Let's do the Nico roll brush. Actually, I'm going to use the gouache brush. And I'm just going to paint a bit of shadow there. Going underneath the bridge. And I can go over the lines again, because then you can just come in with the eraser. And then just sharpen it up by erasing those bits. So I went away for a little while, and when I came back, it occurred to me how these look like trees, these branches here, and this one coming up here. So I thought I'd have a go at adding some trees and seeing how that looked as well. So I'm going to tap on a new layer again, right at the top. I'm going to try drawing them first, but if that doesn't work out, I'm going to try bringing some trees I photographed as well. So let's try both. We can do it on different layers. So I'm going to grab inking. I'm going to grab the Mercury brush. What I love about this brush is it's got a really nice kind of gloopy feel, and you can get really thin lines and really big fat lines as well. So there's lots of variation within the brush, which is why it's good for these kind of spindly kind of trees. So I'm just sort of dangling and applying the pressure and sort of twisting the edge of my brush, sort of making it heavier parts of tree in some areas. I'll take the size down a little bit to get some thinner branches. And now this is looking quite sort of dystopian. Not the trees are kind of giving it a kind of burnt dystopian look, but hey, let's go with that for the time being. Okay, for the other side, I'm going to try a different technique of adding a tree image that I've taken with a slow shutter cam. So let's have a look. So I'm going to open my collage library, and as most people will know who've taken my online courses, you'll know that I've got a huge big library of textures and images I've collected of plants and trees. I've got one in here that's slow shutter trees. And what I mean by slow shutter trees are trees that are taken with a slow exposure, which is possible with an iPhone using an app. And I've got 2 courses. If you're interested in that, I've got 2 courses on slow shutter photography where you can just get the most interesting effects for all kinds of subjects, from trees to flowing water to figures. So check that out. Now I'm looking for a tree that fits here. So maybe slightly curved, maybe something like this. And this is the slow shutter effect. It gives this sort of spindly abstraction to images. So it's a really nice effect. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to try and just tap it and copy it, but that's not working. Sometimes when you have a subject that's in stark contrast with the background, you can just tap it and copy it. But on this occasion, it's not working, so that's okay. I can tap copy here, 3-fingered swipe, and then tap paste. And then my image appears across the whole of the canvas. And I'm going to tap on multiply. And you can see that that's got rid of all of the background and really kind of darkened the image. And I just want to, if I want that tree or this tree, I'm going to put that tree there. Let's make it a bit smaller. And you can see that I've matched it to the branch there by just tilting it and adjusting it until it fits. And this kind of almost looks like a bat flying in the background. So obviously I don't want it crashing through the bridge. And also we've got some issues here with the edge of the paper or the edge of the canvas. So I want to get rid of that. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to tap on adjustments, tap on curves. And if you watch this edge of paper, when I tap it up, it's going to disappear. That's going to make the image lighter. And if I tap here on the curves and then bring this down, that's going to make it darker. So it's going to bring more of the spindly trees into it. I'm then just going to erase the bits that I don't need. I'm going to use a soft brush for that. Oops. Bit big. And just erase the bits of tree I don't need. It kind of looks a bit strange like that, so I think I'm going to have to kind of put it a little bit more upright like that. And then I'm going to use an inky brush, tap on a separate layer, inking brush. I'm going to bring the layer, tap on a new layer. I'm going to bring it below the bridge so it appears behind the bridge. I'm just going to bring it as low as possible. The bridge is actually within the pictures. I can't put it behind there, but let's just draw it where it could be rooted down there. And then I'll just lower the opacity to make it appear like it's fading behind the bridge. Something like that. Just clean that up a bit. Maybe add some details to suggest some leaves. And I've just realised our dog has kind of disappeared, and that's because there's a bit of tree coming over here. So I'm going to find what layer that is, and rather than trying to find out by going through all the layers and wondering, a good way to find a layer is to tap on this little square here between the brush adjustment sliders. Tap on that, hold your finger on it, and then tap on the area you're looking for, and that will bring up your layer. And you can see that this is the layer that I need to get rid of. Erase round, and then we've brought our dog back. Great stuff. And then we've got this kind of interesting image of the dog walker going across the bridge, which all started with the texture from Mark Wills. So thank you very much, Mark. That was a lovely exercise with a gorgeous bit of texture. And I don't think that's the end. Those textures are really lovely, and I'm going to see what else I can do with them and have some fun. So watch this space. If you have any questions for me about digital collage and making collage or mixed media in Procreate, then let me know in the comments. If you want me to do a short video, if there's anything you're stuck on, let me know. Thanks for watching.